Your anxiety is lying to you. Yes, lying, deceiving you in the most cunning of ways. It whispers fears that seem so real, so urgent. But let me assure you, those fears are nothing more than illusions. And that is what we're going to explore today, my friends. The grand deceptions of anxiety and how, with the right mindset, you can reclaim the truth of your life. Now, allow me to begin with a story. Imagine you are in a grand theater. The curtain rises, and on the stage is your anxiety. Oh, it's dressed the part, dramatic, overblown, with exaggerated gestures, convincing you that you must pay attention, that every single detail it presents is a matter of life and death. The anxious mind is quite the performer, is it not? But here's the truth. Anxiety is nothing more than a bad actor, one that thrives on trickery, on convincing you that its exaggerated narrative is the only one. In reality, the stage is empty, and the only audience member is you, caught in the play that was never meant to be real. You see, anxiety is an evolutionary relic, designed to protect us from danger. But in our modern world, the same mechanisms that once saved us from predators now flood our minds with worry over things that don't truly threaten us. It lies, telling us that every worry is a crisis, every hesitation is a failure waiting to happen. Anxiety, if I may be blunt, is a liar. But oh, it's clever, isn't it? It knows just how to get under your skin, how to magnify the tiniest of uncertainties into monstrous proportions. It convinces you that something as trivial as a conversation or a meeting might unravel your entire world. But let me tell you something. Nothing in your world is that fragile. You are not that fragile. Let me explain this in a way that I believe will resonate. Think of anxiety as a lens through which you see the world, but this lens, my dear friends, is not clear. It's warped. It distorts reality. Imagine putting on a pair of glasses with the wrong prescription. Everything becomes fuzzy, disorienting. That's what anxiety does. It distorts the truth, making you believe that minor inconveniences are catastrophes waiting to happen. And yet the world remains unchanged, solid, stable. You simply cannot see it for what it is. Now, consider this. Anxiety's favorite trick is to blow things out of proportion. Think back to a time when you were anxious about something, perhaps a social event, a job interview, or a difficult conversation. In the moment, your anxiety told you it would be a disaster. It painted vivid pictures of failure, rejection, and embarrassment. And what happened? More often than not, nothing as catastrophic as you imagined. You survived. And more than that, you probably walked away wondering, why was I so anxious? Because you see, anxiety is always more dire in anticipation than in reality. It loves to conjure up worst-case scenarios, to weave elaborate tales of failure, shame, or disaster. But those scenarios rarely come to pass. Why? Because anxiety cannot predict the future. It tries. Oh, how it tries. But it is terrible at it. Anxiety's predictions are like the weather forecasts of a novice meteorologist, frequently wrong and often unnecessarily dire. And yet we believe it, time and time again. But here's something you may not have considered. Anxiety is not just a faulty forecaster, it's also incredibly narcissistic. It convinces you that the world is watching you, judging your every move. But the truth, my dear friends, is that most people are far too absorbed in their own lives to scrutinize yours. And even if they did, their opinions are not nearly as consequential as anxiety would have you believe. In fact, one of the great secrets of life is this. Most people don't care nearly as much as you think they do. Your mistakes, your anxieties, your awkward moments, none of it matters as much as your mind tries to tell you. Anxiety, you see, is a master at making mountains out of molehills. It convinces you that a small stumble is a fatal fall. But let me assure you, it is not. Let me share a personal story, if I may. Years ago, I found myself on the precipice of a great decision. My mind, like an overzealous alarm, screamed at me about every possible misstep, every potential disaster. I could hardly hear my own thoughts over the cacophony of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. And then, in a quiet moment of clarity, I realized something simple but profound. Anxiety was trying to protect me, but it had lost all sense of proportion. It had become a prison, not a guardian. And so I did what anxiety tells you never to do. I embraced the uncertainty. I stepped forward into the unknown. And do you know what happened? Life unfolded just as it always does. There were bumps along the way, yes, but nothing resembling the catastrophe my anxious mind had promised. I had been lied to, and I suspect you have been too. Now, let us move forward to another favorite tactic of anxiety: immediacy. Anxiety loves to convince you that you must act now, that there is no time to pause, to reflect. It tells you that hesitation is failure and that inaction is unacceptable. But I tell you, the opposite is often true. Patience, my friends, is a powerful antidote to anxiety. When anxiety tells you to rush, to react, to make decisions out of fear, you must instead slow down, take a breath, consider your options. Anxiety thrives on urgency, but most of life's greatest decisions require patience, not haste. There's a story I like about a great tree. This tree had weathered many storms, strong winds, even lightning strikes. People marveled at how it stood tall, year after year, season after season. And when asked its secret, the tree's reply was simple. I did not rush to grow. I stood my ground day by day, letting time do the rest. So too must we face our anxieties. Let them come, let them pass, and in their wake we remain. Standing firm, the storms of anxiety are loud, but they do not last. Now let us discuss one more thing before I leave you: control. Anxiety is deeply rooted in the desire for control, in the fear of losing it. It tells you that if you could only manage every variable, predict every outcome, you would be safe. But here's the irony. In trying to control everything, you control nothing. The truth is, much of life is beyond our control, and the more we accept this, the less anxious we become. There is freedom, you see, in letting go, in realizing that not everything rests on your shoulders, that the world will continue to spin, whether or not you micromanage it. Anxiety lies to you because it tells you that you must control the uncontrollable. But the real power lies in recognizing what you can control: your actions, your responses, your mindset, and letting the rest fall away. So, my dear friends, the next time anxiety whispers its lies, remember this: it is not the voice of truth. It is a faulty narrator, one that thrives on distortion and exaggeration. But you are the author of your own story. You can choose to listen to anxiety's tales, or you can choose to rewrite them. And when you do, when you reclaim the pen, you'll find that the truth is far less frightening than anxiety would have you believe.